okay, after being here a few years and helping so many people move here, there are some things about the Tampa area that I know are confusing. I want to address some of these and see if we can add some clarity. The first one I want to talk about is just the Tampa area overall. It's really big. Now, sure, not as big as some cities, but the way that it's kind of spread out and it's a few cities is kind of unique. So you have these central spots, Tampa being one, St. Petersburg being another, and then kind of like the Clearwater beach area being another. I mean, it's not so specifically Clearwater Beach, but there's kind of a central hub over that way. The reason that this is unique is because everything kind of radiates from those spots. I have these clients in town right now from Germany, actually from Cyprus. They're German, but they currently live in Cyprus and they want to buy a home in this Tampa area. And I was trying to explain this concept of there's these layers that make up a city like this. You have like a downtown area, and then just outside of that you have older suburbs. You have like some residential areas mixed with some urban areas. Then you go further out and you have suburbs. And there's really three of those. So you have that Tampa, St. Pete, and Clearwater area that it all kind of emanates. And then where those areas connect to each other, so let's say where the St. Petersburg one connects to the Tampa one, we kind of overlap in Oldsmar. Oldsmar is kind of a confusing area because of that. It's kind of residential, but also there's big highways that go through there. It's older residential, I don't know. It's just kind of quirky because of these like emanating parts. Another thing is the difference between Tampa and St. Petersburg. I published this video a while back, kind of talking about St. Pete, talking about it being the second largest city in the Tampa area. There were a lot of negative reactions to that thumbnail specifically. One of the reasons people didn't like that because they don't think of St. Petersburg as part of Tampa. What do you guys think?
The reality is, all these areas are pretty connected to each other.
St. Pete feels like Tampa, Tampa feels like St. Pete. Unless you've lived here like a long time. And the reality is, if you're watching these videos, you probably haven't lived here a long time. You're probably thinking about moving here. If you are thinking about moving here, we want to hear from you. So don't forget to call, text, or email. We'd love to hop on a Zoom call or phone call and see how we can best help. We love helping people understand the area, and this video is that for you. The next thing is that people are weird about Pasco County. I live in Pasco County. There's a lot of new suburbs in Pasco County, but there is kind of this us against them mentality when it's kind of Pasco against Pinellas or Hillsborough. Now Hillsborough and Pinellas have that a little bit between each other, but not as much. They kind of like respect each other almost. And they're pretty similar in size. They're each about 1 million. Each one is a little over. Hillsborough being a little bit bigger. Pasco is 500,000, a lot more rural. There's a lot more new development in Pasco County than in Pinellas or Hillsborough. Mostly because Pinellas and Hillsborough are pretty full. I don't know, Pasco has a rough reputation. As I mentioned in the previous video about Trinity, my wife used to say we live in just north of Trinity instead of just saying we live in Pasco County. Or we live in Newport Richey. I didn't care. I mean, first of all, I didn't care that she said that, but second of all, I didn't care where we live because we love where we live. Another thing people are often surprised by is that the beaches are kind of far from the cities. Now, yeah, there's some city stuff around the beaches, but if you're looking at like Tampa proper, or if you're wanting to live in a $500,000 house in a neighborhood around Tampa, you're going out to suburbs, and then you're even further from the beaches. So when you're thinking about the Tampa area, sometimes people really understand that the beaches are not in Tampa, and Apollo Beach doesn't count. Ben T. Davis Beach on the Causeway doesn't count. Yeah, there's some pretty parts to all that, but it's just not the same as like true Gulf beaches like St. Pete Beach, like Treasure Island, like Bel Air Beach, even Clearwater Beach. That's at the bottom of my list because it's always so crowded, but it's there for sure. Okay, another thing I wanted to talk about is condo fees. Condos are a more affordable option if you're moving to this area. but their fees are often really high. There's not a lot you can do about that. Yeah, some of that is taxes and insurance for the property overall. Some of that is often like internet and cable, maybe even water and sewer. But for example, we have a listing right now. It's around 500,000 condo in Treasure Island, and it's 1 mile from the beach. So you could walk to the beach, you could ride a bike really easily, but the fees on it are over $800 a month. It's a cool place, but it doesn't have a lot of amenities. So if you're gonna have a lot of amenities, then it's going to be more than that. And so, some people are, more than willing to pay something like that, and a lot of our clients do. But it's just something that kind of surprises people. I've seen it surprise a lot of people, we'll say that. Another thing about condos are typically both ends of the spectrum. Really affordable, let's go down here, really affordable, and then really expensive. When I say really expensive, I mean luxury $2-3 million big condos have water views, whether that's the river in Tampa or it's other places where you can see the water, the beach, the bay, those kind of things. Cool properties. Then there's super affordable ones that are, $200,000 and maybe in a little retirement community. There's not a lot that are in that $500,000-$600,000 range. And I'm curious if somebody will start building those. What do you think? If there was a pretty modern place that was $600,000, condo, 1,000 square feet, walkable to places. That's the factor. It's like, for them to be walkable to places like restaurants downtown or the beach, then they're in that $1 to $2 million range. I don't know. I think there's definitely a gap there, and I wonder if somebody will fill it. Okay, next on the list is suburbs. These clients that are in town from Cyprus, they're like, what in the world are suburbs? Super fun conversation to have because they just come from a different context. It's super fun to try to explain these quirks of not just Tampa, but of American cities. The first point when I was talking about the kind of the centers where things radiate from, that was kind of about suburbs, because what happens is you have what's like the urban center, and just outside of that you have the suburban area. Those typically are just more residential areas. Because these towns are quite a bit older, those suburbs that are closer to the city are quite a bit older now. They're growing out further and further. So what is a suburb? A suburb, now you probably know this, but I'm gonna define it so that we all know what we're talking about. Suburb is a residential town area that's about 30 minutes or more from the city center. Typically, it's just residential. There's basic necessities, of course. There's always going to be grocery stores and big box stores, places where you can buy clothes and get your car fixed and those kind of things. Some of these suburbs now have really nice shopping, like nice outlet malls. You can see here, right at the corner of Lutz, Land O'Lakes, and Wesley Chapel, there's a big outlet mall area. Nice Tampa premium outlets. And I would argue that to say, these are called the Tampa outlets, not the Wesley Chapel Lutz outlets. Another point, but that's the suburbs. Some people are okay with living further out, okay with being further from the beach, okay with being further from all kinds of stuff. And we've got great options for that. And then finally, I want to talk about my neighbor, Bill. Lives down the street from our house in Tarpon Springs, the house that flooded, Bill is on the board for the Historical Society in Tarpon Springs, and is very involved in the community. He grew up in Largo, just south of Tarpon Springs. Now he lives in Tarpon. Wants to be walking distance to the water so he can go drop his canoe in or his kayak in and go fish. Loves fishing. Cool guy. I was telling him the other day that, our clients don't know the difference, really, between Tampa and Tarpon Springs. They would think of Tarpon Springs as part of the Tampa area. And he was like, no, it's not part of the Tampa area. I was like, but these people are moving from across the country. They think it's part of Tampa. It kind of is. If you think of it in a realistic sense, it kind of is. So if you want to move to anywhere in the Tampa area, we want to be your real estate choice. Give us a call, text, or email anytime. We'd love to see how we can help you. Oh, you might be wondering what the heck I'm doing at the airport. I'm heading to Austin, Texas to speak at a real estate event. Actually speaking about building YouTube channels. One of my favorite parts about this whole thing is telling you stories about those of you that call. Talking about those clients visiting from Cyprus, or talking about people that are confused about certain things, and seeking out ways that I can add more clarity through telling stories is a lot of fun to me. Something I'm excited to share with other realtors and give them really basic ways of how they can do it. But yeah, so I'm at the airport. And my wife is super pregnant back at home, so she's 34 weeks, but we have babies early, so I should say she has babies early. I don't do much. But I'm sure everything will be fine. I'll keep you all updated. Thanks for coming by.